Welcome back to the deep dive. We are doing something a little different today.
Hmm.
Something that feels less like a typical analysis and more like uh, a fundamental shift in perspective.
It really is.
We are kicking off a brand new series, and we're calling it Building a Human.
I love that title.
And honestly, looking at the stack of research, the historical context, and the source material we have for this, I think this might be one of the most transformative journeys we've taken yet.
I think so too.
This isn't just about parenting. It's about understanding the very roots of who we are as a species.
It really is. And I'm glad you framed it that way because if you look at this material and just think tips for toddlers, you are going to miss the earthquake.
Right.
This is about the architecture of the human spirit.
Exactly. Before we jump in, I just want to establish who is making this deep dive possible.
Of course.
This initiative is brought to you by the Al-Mahaba Foundation. That's the Love for All and Service to All Foundation in partnership with Dar Al Kalima Publishing House.
A wonderful collaboration.
And the foundational text we're going to be unpacking layer by layer is Maria Montessori's absolute masterpiece, The Secret of Childhood.
A masterpiece is the right word. It's a text that doesn't just describe the child. It defends the child.
It defends the child. I
Yeah.
like that. And to start us off, I want to throw a phrase at you that really, it stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the intro.
Okay.
It's the hook for the entire argument. Montessori refers to the child as the forgotten citizen.
It's a haunting phrase, isn't it?
It is the forgotten citizen because we obsess over kids, right? I mean, we have whole industries dedicated to them: toys, clothes, organic food, entertainment.
Absolutely. Billions of dollars.
We have laws protecting them from labor. So the initial reaction is, what do you mean forgotten? They are the center of our universe.
And that is the paradox we need to unpack. We think we care for children because we care for their bodies.
Okay.
We are obsessed with their physical preservation. We wash them, we feed them, we put them to bed. We track their height and weight on percentile charts at the doctor's office.
Right, all the metrics.
All the physical metrics. But Montessori argues that while we tend to the biological organism, we completely ignore the child as a human being, a being with civic and spiritual rights.
So we're taking care of the pet, or maybe the plant, but we're ignoring the citizen.
In a way, yes. We treat them as an object of care or maybe a future project, someone who will be a citizen one day.
A citizen in training.
Exactly. But we don't see them as a citizen who exists right now with a personality that is actively fighting to develop.
You know, you have laws for workers, laws
Yeah.
for women, laws to protect the environment,
Mm-hmm.
but where is the law for the child's soul?
That's the question. And that is the central conflict. And I think a lot of people listening might be thinking, well, I love my kid. I don't forget them.
Of course.
But this goes deeper than affection. This is about what Montessori calls the social question of the child.
The social question. Okay, let's break that down. What does she mean by that specific term?
Right. So to understand the weight of that term, we have to look at history. Think about the labor movement. You had workers who were oppressed, right? Working terrible hours in dangerous conditions. But what did they do?
They organized. They formed unions.
They organized, they stood up, and they articulated their demands. They could literally say, we are being oppressed, and they could force a change.
They had a voice. They had leverage.
Exactly. The same thing happened with the women's rights movement. You had a group of people who could organize and demand respect.
Right.
But now, look at the child. A 2-year-old cannot form a union. A 3-year-old cannot write a manifesto about their mistreatment.
And they could scream, though?
They can scream, but they cannot articulate why in a way that carries any political or social weight.
Right.
The child is silent in the civic sense. The child is helpless in the face of the adult. They cannot organize.
And because they are silent?
They are easily ignored. So the social question of the child isn't about charity. It's not about building more schools or giving them more food, although those things are important.
Of course.
It is about recognizing that the child has a personality that is often crushed by the adult world simply because the adult world is stronger.
That brings us to this really uncomfortable concept in the text.
Mm-hmm.
Adult blindness. The idea that it's not that we are mean, it's that we literally can't see what we're doing.
It is a blindness rooted in ego. And this is hard for us to hear as adults, but we have to be open to it.
Okay.
The adult subconsciously views themselves as the creator of the child.
I made you.
I made you, I feed you, I house you, therefore I know what's best for you. The adult sets themselves up as the absolute authority, a sort of god to the child.
The text actually uses the word tyrant. which is, ouch, that hits hard.
It stings, but let's strip away the emotional reaction for a second and just look at the definition.
Okay.
A tyrant is someone whose word is law and who cannot be questioned. In the traditional relationship, the adult is infallible. The child must simply conform.
And if the child deviates from the adult's plan, what do we call it?
We call it naughtiness, disobedience, acting out.
Right. We pathologize their autonomy.
Exactly. We don't see it as a legitimate expression of a different need. We just see it as an error that we, the adult, need to correct. We just assume the adult is always right and the child is always wrong.
So it really is like a class struggle.
Mm.
You have the adult class, which holds all the power, all the resources, makes all the rules.
Yeah.
And then you have the child class, which has to just survive in that system.
That is precisely the comparison Montessori makes. And she uses very strong, very specific terminology to drive this home.
Such as?
She refers to the child as a pariah or even a proletarian.
A pariah. Wow. So a social outcast. Someone who doesn't belong.
Let's look at why she uses that word. Think about the physical world we live in. Just look around the room you're in right now.
Okay, I'm looking.
Who is it built for?
Me, an adult.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. The tables are waist-high to you, but they are roof-high to a child.
True.
The stairs are comfortable for your legs, but they are steep mountains for a toddler.
Yeah.
The handles, the sinks, the light switches, they are all out of reach. We have built a world for giants.
And so when a child enters this world,
They are effectively a refugee.
I love that analogy in the text, the refugee,
Yeah.
a traveler in a foreign land.
Yes. I mean, imagine you were dropped into a land of giants,
Okay.
and you didn't speak the language, you couldn't reach the food, you couldn't open the doors.
And these giants were constantly just picking you up and moving you without asking.
Exactly. You would feel helpless. You would feel like an outcast.
And like a refugee, the child has no property rights.
That is another huge element of the pariah status.
Wait, hold on. Property rights?
Okay.
My living room floor is covered in toys.
Right.
Surely the child has property. It feels like they own the whole house sometimes.
Do they, though? Let's talk about what the book calls the toy trap. You buy the toys, correct. And you give them to the child. You say, this is yours.
Mhm.
But what happens if the living room gets too messy? Or if guests are coming over? Or if the child is, misbehaving?
You tell them to clean it up.
Yeah.
Or, I take them away. If you can't take care of it, you lose it. That's a class.
Exactly. You confiscate them because technically, in your mind, they are still your property.
Yeah.
A child owns nothing. Their ownership is conditional on your mood and your rules. Even their time isn't their own. We decide when they sleep, when they eat, when they play.
That's so true. If I'm working on my laptop, no one comes over and just shuts it firmly and says nap time.
I should hope not.
But if a child is deeply engrossed in playing with something, which, as the book says, is their work,
Yes, their work.
and we decide it's time for dinner, we interrupt them without a second thought.
Without a thought.
We would never do that to another adult who is focused on a spreadsheet. But because it's a child, and because we are the owners of the environment, we feel we have the right to dictate every single moment.
That is the essence of being a pariah. You exist on the margins of the dominant society. You have no real civil rights.
That hits home. The text even mentions a biblical reference comparing the child to the Messiah who has nowhere to lay his head.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea of spiritual homelessness. They live in the adult kingdom, and in that kingdom, they're often viewed not as citizens, but as a source of disturbance.
That is the crux of the issue. The child is so often seen as a problem to be managed.
Right.
We want them to be quiet, to be clean, to be still. But the nature of the child, their biological mandate, is to be loud, to be messy, and to move.
So their very existence.
Their very existence becomes a disturbance to the adult's desire for peace and comfort.
This leads us directly into what the source material calls the hidden conflict.
Yes.
It's not an open war with, battle lines drawn, but it's a constant friction between two different natures.
It is a conflict of rhythms. And this is so important for listeners to grasp because this is where I think 90% of parenting frustration comes from.
It's not malice.
It's not malice, it's rhythm.
Okay, break that down for us. What do you mean by rhythm?
The adult rhythm is focused on efficiency and results. When we walk somewhere, we are walking to get to a destination.
Right.
We want to take the shortest, fastest route. We are results-oriented, the law of least effort.
Right. I need to get to the grocery store, get the milk, and get back. I'm on a mission.
Exactly. Now look at the child. The child's rhythm is entirely different.
How so?
They are not result-oriented, they are process-oriented.
Okay.
When a child walks, they aren't trying to get to the store. They are trying to develop the ability to walk. They are building their own coordination.
So they stop.
They stop. They look at a leaf. They walk backward. They sit down to examine a crack in the sidewalk.
And the adult is standing there pulling on their hand saying, come on, hurry up. We don't have time for this.
Exactly. And that moment, that hurry up, that is the oppression.
Wow. Oppression is a strong word.
It is. But think about it. The adult is defending their rhythm against the child's rhythm. We are imposing our fast pace on a being that biologically requires a slow pace in order to develop. It isn't just annoying to the child, it is actually damaging. It cuts off the developmental process that was happening in that moment.
There's this great distinction in the notes that I think explains this. It's between dead order and living growth. It sounds like a sci-fi movie title,
It does a bit.
but it explains so much of the friction in my house.
It really does. Dead order is what the adult usually wants.
Okay.
We want the house to look like a magazine cover. We want the vase on the table to stay exactly where we put it.
Pristine.
We want the walls to be perfectly clean. We want silence. That is dead order. Everything is static. Nothing changes. It's about preservation.
And living growth.
Living growth is the child's imperative. The child needs to touch the vase to understand its weight and texture. They need to move the chair to see how it fits in space. They need to draw on a surface to see the effect of their hand.
They're experimenting.
They are acting on the environment to build their intelligence. So when the child touches the vase, the adult yells, "Don't touch that!"
Right.
We are defending the dead order of our things against the living growth of the child's soul.
And the tragedy in this, pointed out in the text, is that we are choosing the things over the souls.
Yes.
We care more about the pristine condition of the sofa than the developmental need of the human being who's standing right in front of us.
And we rationalize it. We say we are teaching them respect or discipline. But often, if we are honest with ourselves, it's just a defensive instinct.
A defensive instinct.
We are subconsciously defending our world, our comfort, our possessions against this invader who wants to explore everything.
So we interpret their exploration as naughtiness.
We see it as naughtiness or destruction, but it's actually construction. They are building a mental model of the world.
Let's pivot a bit here, because we've talked about the child as a pariah and this conflict of rhythms. But there's also an economic argument in the sources that I found fascinating.
Ah, yes.
Usually, if you look at a spreadsheet, a kid is a liability.
A cost center.
A cost center, exactly. They cost money, they consume resources, they don't have a job, they are an economic drain.
That is the traditional economic view, yes. The child as a consumer, a burden on the state or the family.
But Montessori.
She flips this completely upside down. She argues that the child is the most important producer in society.
The most important producer. What do they produce?
They produce the adult.
That's, okay, let's sit with that for a second. The child produces the adult.
Think about it. Every doctor, every engineer, every artist, every leader, they didn't just appear out of nowhere.
No.
They were constructed day by day, year by year, through the work of a child. The child's work, that play, that exploration, that slow walking, is the labor of building the human personality.
The child is the father of the man.
Exactly. The child is the father of the man.
So the child is essentially a construction worker.
Yes. They are working at the construction site of the human spirit. And Montessori points out a massive irony here.
Which is?
Society spends billions, trillions on infrastructure, bridges, roads, technology. We invest heavily in the physical construction of our cities. We have engineers and inspectors to make sure the concrete is mixed correctly.
Right.
But we completely ignore the construction site where the citizens themselves are being built.
And if that construction work goes wrong, if the foundation is cracked,
if the child does their work poorly, because we interfered, because we forced them to rush, because we crushed their spirit with our dead order,
then the building is faulty.
Then the resulting adult is damaged. We see what she calls deviations. We see adults who are passive, who lack creativity, who are filled with anxiety or aggression.
So the social question really is the root of everything.
It is.
If we want a better society, we can't just fix the laws for adults. We have to go back and fix the construction site.
Precisely. Montessori says that solving the problem of the child is the only way to truly solve the problems of humanity.
That's a huge claim.
It is, but think it through. You can't have a peaceful world if the people inhabiting it were raised in a state of hidden conflict and oppression.
Right.
If you want a peaceful adult, you must respect the rights of the child to build that peace within themselves from the very beginning.
This is heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It really shifts the perspective from how do I get my kid to listen to me
Yeah.
to how do I stop getting in the way of this miracle?
Exactly.
So let's get practical. What is the solution? The sources talk about love and service.
It starts with redefining the role of the parent or the educator.
Okay.
We have to stop thinking of ourselves as the owner of the child or the judge of their behavior. We need to become the ally.
The ally, and that's where the concept of service comes in.
Yes.
And I want to tie this back to the Foundation's motto, love for all, service for everyone. In this context, what does it mean to serve a child? It sounds a bit like, I need to become a butler.
It's not about bringing them tea on a silver platter.
Okay, good.
Service, in the Montessori sense, means removing obstacles. It means preparing the environment.
How so?
If we know the child needs to move, service means creating a space where they can move safely without us constantly yelling no.
Right.
If we know the child needs to do things for themselves to build their independence, service means buying clothes they can put on easily or having a little step stool so they can reach the sink.
So it's about enabling them. It's about setting them up for success.
It's about social justice for the small. It's giving the child a voice. It's respecting their work as sacred.
Sacred.
You know, if you were reading a book and I came over and just snatched it out of your hands because I wanted you to eat a sandwich, you'd be furious.
I'd be livid. Absolutely.
But we do that to children constantly. Service means asking permission.
As simple as that.
I see you are building a tower. That looks amazing. In 5 minutes, we'll need to break for lunch. Is that okay? It means treating them with the same dignity you would offer any guest in your home.
That shift from owner to ally, from judge to servant, that's huge.
It changes everything.
It's basically realizing that we are not the stars of the show. The child is the protagonist of their own life.
Yes.
We are just the supporting cast, maybe the stage crew.
That's a perfect way to put it. We set the stage, we handle the lights, we make sure the props are ready and accessible.
But they're the ones acting out the drama of development.
And when we step back and let them do that, the conflict disappears, the war ends, and we start building what she calls a bridge of respect between the world of the adult and the world of the child.
And that is really the mission of this deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
To change the lens through which we see these little humans.
And also to change how we see ourselves. Because when we stop trying to be the god or the tyrant, we relieve ourselves of a huge burden.
What do you mean?
We don't have to mold them. They mold themselves. We just have to love them and serve that process.
This has been such an eye-opener. I mean, we started by asking where the law for the child's soul is. And I think the answer is that we have to be that law. We have to be the ones who recognize their citizenship.
Absolutely. The child is the forgotten citizen, but we have the power to remember them.
Before we wrap up, I just want to recap where we've been, because it's been a lot.
It has.
We've gone from seeing the child as sort of pet or property to seeing them as the builder of man and a forgotten citizen.
A huge leap.
We've looked at the hidden conflict between our fast-paced adult world and their slow developmental needs.
The rhythm mismatch.
Exactly. And we've talked about the solution being a shift to service, removing obstacles and respecting their work.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The source material, the secret of childhood, goes so much deeper into the mechanics of all this.
Yes. And we always want to point you back to the source. If this conversation sparked something in you, you really need to get your hands on The Secret of Childhood.
You really do.
It is available through the Dar Al Kalima Publishing House. You can find them at daralkalima.com. That's DARELKAUELNA.com.
Supporting the original source is what allows this knowledge to keep spreading.
It really is. And frankly, reading the original text is a different experience. Montessori's voice is so powerful. She challenges you on every single page.
She does not pull any punches.
She really does not. Okay, so we are going to leave you with one final thought, something of a provocation to carry with you until our next deep dive.
We often think that we are the ones teaching the child. We teach them to walk, to talk, to eat with a fork.
Right, we're the teachers.
But if you look closely, the child is actually teaching us.
How so?
They teach us patience. They teach us to slow down. They teach us to look at a leaf for 5 full minutes and just see the wonder in it.
The text calls the child the messiah of the family.
Yeah.
The one who can renew the adult's tired soul.
If we give them the chance, if we stop fighting them and start listening to them, they can heal us from our own adult blindness.
I love that. The child isn't just the future. They are the renewal of the present.
Beautifully put.
Thank you so much for joining us on this first episode of Building a Human.
It's been a pleasure.
We will see you in the next deep dive.
But
And remember, love for all and service to everyone.